What's going on, everyone? My name's Jake. I like to talk tunes. Apologies for the echo. And we're now in July. Ignore how I sound. I'm sick. I'm not well. But it's now the 3rd of July. I've been meaning to record this video for the past couple of days. We're now halfway through the year. And this is the official Jake Talks Tunes midway through the year award, 6-month awards, whatever we're gonna. It's the halfway point of the year. We're halfway through the year. We've had all these albums and songs and music release, and I'm going to talk about some of my favourites, some of my least favourites, some things I absolutely hate, some things I absolutely love, some things I'm looking forward to, some things that disappointed me, and we're just going to roll through it. I have no clear structure for this. Some things here I've wrote down like 20 records that I like, and other places I've wrote down, like 5, 6, 7 songs. It's all fun and games and a good laugh. So let's just crack on with it. So, first up, let's talk about album of the year. Obviously, the big one, what at the halfway point has been my album of the year. But before we get to my album of the year, I have a lot of records here that they didn't make the cut. Some records, some EPs, some things that I really, really liked. But we're just going to go over my top 5 at the end, which are ranked, actually, top 6. This is complete chaos. I just have a note on my phone with no sort of structure. But what else would you expect from this channel? So let's just talk about a load of albums that I liked. Not enough for them to make the top 5. And yeah, let's crack on with it. Up first, we've got Letter to Self by Sprint. It's a very, very good, very ambitious record. However, for me, the best songs from Letter to Self came out last year. So to me, Letter to Self is very 2023. And I know that's weird, it released in January. But all of its best tracks came out at the end of last year, and I've not really gone back to many of the songs that actually came out this year since it's been out. But it's a really good album, really good band. You should check it out. We've got Take It or Leave It by my good friends Cherem, an absolutely wonderful pop punk, power pop, sort of emo record. Deals with all of the things that they've gone through in their lives. I've had a conversation with the girls recently for Hive magazine, and we just talked about this album and about their life. It's a really good album and a really good band I highly recommend you check out. Then we've got the Shit Yeah EP by Between You and Me. You've got Humble as the Sun by Bob Vylan. We've got Girlfriend Material by Lauren Hibbard. We've got Fine Art by Kneecap. It's Not That Deep by Monjola. Clancy by, I nearly said a date, remember, Jesus Christ. Clancy by 21 Pilots. All Born Screaming by St. Vincent. I Want to Disappear by The Story So Far. What a Devastating Turn of Events by Rachel Chinariri. Pick Up Full of Pink Carnations by The Vaccines. And At Vista by Childish Gambino are all rounding out these albums that are sort of in and around my top 20 albums of the year. Some are kind of falling in and out. These are all some incredible projects as well. Some really, really good projects in there. But they don't make the cut, so I'm going to go through my top 5, well, kind of top 6. But you'll see why in a minute. Okay, we are just going to go through my top 5 albums of the year, but I do have 6 releases listed here. That's because I have one EP in this list, which is my second favourite release of the year, but it's an EP, so I'm going to give it its flowers as an EP, even though it's my second favourite release of the year. My EP of the year at the halfway point is Brogale by Brogale, an absolute masterpiece in folk punk and in songwriting and in scope and in ambition and in everything. It takes a tried and true formula of what the Brogale boys have been doing, and it doesn't change that, but it expands it in ways that shouldn't really work. And it's an absolutely fantastic release. So then my top 5 albums of the year, coming in at number 5 is Chaos Angel by Maya Hawke. It's quiet, it's folksy, it's deep, it's intense, it's self-reflective. The lyrics come first here. And what I really appreciate about Maya Hawke is in a sort of era when her fame from Stranger Things, she could easily make sort of big sort of pop songs and go for big label pop and know that would take, because she has a sort of established fan base. Her music is quite different. It's not necessarily hard to get into, but it's not gonna make the headlines. It's not gonna be the big TikTok sound, and she's okay with that. It's quiet, it's self-reflective, it's folksy, it's really, really good stuff on that album, and Chaos Angel has just snuck in here at my number 5 album of the year. And at number 4 then, we have Business As Usual by the La Fontaines, one of my favourite bands of all time, a band that I have known for a while, I've listened to for a while. They just keep getting better, coming back with these sounds that shouldn't work, taking so long off after their last album. You know, Kerr's now a dad. The boys have went in completely different directions in their life. You know, they're all adults now. They're all grown men, and they came back together to write this album that they think is the best ever. It might be. I still have such a soft spot for Class. I don't think anything's going to top Class they'll ever put out, but it's a really, really good record with some really interesting choices on there and a real eclectic mix of songs that never go against each other, even though they shouldn't necessarily gel as good as they do. Business as Usual is a really, really good album, and I highly recommend you check it out. Number 3, what can I say about this album that hasn't been said a million times already? You Won't Go Before You're Supposed To by Knocked Loose. This album is just heavy, it's dense, it's intense, it sucks you in, it pulls you in from the start until it's done. It's Knocked Loose at their best, it's Knocked Loose at some of their heaviest, and it's been so successful. It's shown that you don't need to stop being so heavy to have real commercial success. This album has been absolutely huge for them. They have played some unbelievably big shows. This album has went to really high in the charts, and not just like the alternative and the heavy music charts, the general charts. And I imagine mainstream radio is shitting themselves, not only for what Joe Hendry did this year, but for how big and undeniable Knocked Loose are becoming, because at the rate they're going, you know, they could have a song hit the radio play spots on mainstream charts in the near future, and this album just shows just how good they are and how good they're becoming. And at number 2, which is technically my third favourite release of the year in behind Bro Gale, but my second favourite album of the year, it's Brat by Charlie XCX. What can I say about this album that has been said a million times over? Everything about this album is absolutely fantastic. There's a couple of songs that I don't necessarily love in isolation. There's a couple of songs that I wouldn't choose to put on a playlist or just pick to listen to one at a time, but when you listen to the whole album the entire way through, they sort of earn their place, and they're songs that I like. As I mentioned, there's a song on there that I don't like in isolation, but if I listen to that album, it works and it's brilliant. It's fantastic. It is Charlie at some of her best, and yeah, I just love this album. But number 1, it was obvious what it was going to be. If you've known me, if you've had a conversation with me this year, it's very clear that my favourite album of the year is In Lieu of Flowers by Aaron West and the Roaring Twenties. Just a massive, massive, massive record. I went to go see Aaron West and the Roaring Twenties at St. Luke's this year, and it was one of the best gigs I think I've ever been to. Just an absolute performance, an absolute powerhouse of a writer, a performer. Everything about Aaron West really shouldn't work, and yet we have one of the best records of the whole year, in my opinion, the best record of the whole year in Lieu of Flowers. So definitely worth checking out. So let's just stick with albums now. Let's talk about a little section I have here that's titled Albums I've heard are good but haven't listened to yet for various reasons. It's very self-explanatory. These are some albums that I've seen a lot of friends of mine talk about. These are albums that I know will be good. These are albums that I know that when I sit down to listen to them, I'm going to have a good time. I've just not done that yet for various reasons. Maybe it's I don't necessarily love the artist. Maybe it's just I haven't got around to it. Maybe it's I feel like it might not be my thing. There's a bunch of reasons. So these albums in no particular order are the Beyonce album, Cowboy Carter. I've heard that's really, really good. I've still just to get around to it. The Billie Eilish album as well. That's another record I just haven't sat down with yet. Thing with them, I'm not massive fans of either, and I think that's maybe why. I like them both. I understand how talented they both are. I've just not got around to it. The Vampire Weekend album as well. I've heard this is absolutely fantastic. That's just another band that I don't listen to as much anymore, so I haven't really rushed to get listening to it. That goes for Mannequin Pussy and English Teacher as well. Bands that I like but I'm not massive about. And then albums that I just hear kind of everyone talking about and that everyone is mentioning is the Adrian Lenker album and the Waxahachie album. These are two albums that I know I'm going to sit down to and absolutely fucking adore. I just haven't done that yet. I feel like both of those albums to me is a little bit like Chapel Roan. I haven't got around to listening to Chapel Roan yet because I know that that's going to take over my whole life for like a considerable amount of time. And with the Adrian Lenker and the Waxahachie albums, I feel like it's going to do the exact same thing. So I feel okay about letting them slide for a bit while I moved flat, which I don't know if I've referenced in this video at any point yet. I've moved flat. I have my own flat. And I started a new job and things like that. So I'm kind of just listening to stuff I've been listening to over and over again, so my brain doesn't need to think so much. Now we have a section called Albums That Disappointed Me But Aren't Necessarily Bad. We have the Dua Lipa album, Radical Optimism. Illusion's a great song. Training Season's a great song. There's some good songs on there. I just think as a whole cohesive unit, it doesn't necessarily click. And I kind of feel like that goes for a lot of the records here. That goes for the Kid Capici album, that goes for the Idols album, that goes for the Bring Me The Horizon album, that goes for the Neck Deep album as well. There's obviously some good stuff here. It's just like, it doesn't, to me, I expected more from all of these based on the strength of what we got before. And I think when you listen to those albums, it becomes very clear as to why those songs were released ahead of time. Then we've got an album that like I liked, then I didn't like, and then I hated, and then I kind of started to like again, and now I'm just kind of on it. And that's the Casey Musgraves record. It's got some fun songs in there, like Cardinal. I really like Cardinal. I don't mind the song Deeper Well. It's just, I think with like, I'm such a big fan of Casey Musgraves. I'm such a big fan of albums like Golden Hour. This album, just to me, I'm like, you kind of phoned it in, and it's disappointing. And the album that like I think is kind of disappointing me the most is Stop Making Sense, Everybody's Getting Involved, the A24 Talking Heads tribute album, 16 songs, 16 artists. There's some of these songs I absolutely love, one in particular which we'll get to. And there's so many there's a lot of good stuff on here as well. There's a lot of good covers, but I think a lot of these covers strayed too close to the original so as not to like have, I don't know, maybe not to say that, but to me it kind of feels like a lot of these artists went a little bit too close to the original in an attempt to not piss off Talking Heads fans, and then in doing so sometimes just made what sounds like fine to good Talking Heads covers and didn't really put their stamp on it. Now Paramore did that, but Paramore absolutely put their stamp on Burning Down the House. Same with Lorde, same with Girl in Red. Teasel Touchdown didn't, but I still really like that. And then on the other hand, when you have people like Kevin Abstract, who went like weird and different for Once in a Lifetime, it was fun and it was fine, but it's not as good as Once in a Lifetime, and it's not as good a cover of what Kevin Abstract can do. That song's okay and I've grown to like it, but it really kind of let me down because I had my hopes up when I saw that that's what he was doing. And then you've got the fucking disaster that is Psycho Killer by Miley Cyrus, which like might be my least favourite song of the year. I just think this album came out swinging with Paramore and Teasel Touchdown and Girl in Red and Lorde, and then it teased us with like The National and Miley Cyrus and Kevin Abstract and all these really cool, Chicano Batman as well, all these really cool artists on there. And like, yeah, in some cases it just was too close to the Talking Heads song, in some cases it strayed too far from the Talking Heads song without doing anything necessarily overly interesting. So that album's probably the album that's disappointed me the most. And then let's just get these 5 monstrosities out the way. These are just bad albums. These are my picks for the worst albums of the year. These are albums I listened to as well. It's not like I've looked at these lists and gone, oh, this album probably sucks. These are albums that I took the time out of my day to listen to. It's Vultures 1, it's Insano, it's Neon Pill, it's Liam Gallagher and John Squire, and it's A Torture Post Apartment. Let's not talk too much about them because I don't like being negative about music on this channel. I don't. Those albums are bad though. I don't like those albums. Let's go. Now, let's start talking about songs of the year. These are some of my favourite songs of the year. I have a big playlist called the Jake Talks Tunes Top 250 Songs of 2024 on my Spotify. Here's the link. I don't know how to put it in the video. The link is at the top of this video's description, so go find it there. It's a fucking great playlist. We've got some really good music in there. Just everything that comes out this year that I listen to, I put it in, I move it up, I put it in, I take a song out. It's great. It's a really good playlist. I started at 100 because I was able to make 100 for last year quite easily, but last year wasn't as good a year for music as this was, so it very clearly became obvious that we're going to 200, and then it was 250, and I've decided no more than 250 because that's a lot of music. But out of all the songs that have came out this year, here are my top 10. We'll go from 10 up. And at number 10 is At a Vista, the title track from the newest Childish Gambino album at the time of recording. It's just a lot of fun. It's got a real good groove and a real good bounce to it, and it's making me really excited for when I go see him at the end of the year. Number 9 is Never Need Me by Rachel Cheneriri. Maybe the best song she's ever put out. It went viral on Twitter, and she talked about like how that one video on Twitter has like changed her life, and that's entirely fair. It's a really fucking good song from one of pop's most interesting and most exciting sort of younger stars. And at number 8 then, speaking of pop's most exciting and interesting younger stars, it's Cinderella by Remi Wolf. Remi Wolf is absolutely fucking incredible, and this album is going to be the only thing worth celebrating on the 12th of July. I'll tell you that for free. Remi Wolf is an artist who I've known for a couple of years. I actually discovered Rachel Cheneriri going to see Remi Wolf because she opened for her. And yeah, Remi Wolf was an artist that I knew. I went there with my ex. I went to go see Remi Wolf, and I liked some of her songs, and I went there and just saw the energy and the passion and the insanity of a live show. And I already liked her music, but that kind of sold it for me. And yeah, I'm all on board for this upcoming Remi Wolf album. Number 7 then, Discount the Cooning by The Vaccines. Just a really good song. I think it's one of The Vaccines' better songs in the last few years. Saw this live earlier on in the year. It's off an album that I really liked. I think it's a really good and really just a great song. A really great song off an album that's like good. It doesn't have many like big massive songs. This is the big massive song. Number 6 then we have Alone at St. Luke's by Aaron West. I've already gushed about the album enough. Go listen to the song. Go learn the lore of Aaron West. And I got to see this song, Alone at St. Luke's, in St. Luke's, and it was absolutely life-changing. And at number 5 then, we've got Second Prettiest Girl in the World by Lauren Hibbard. This album, Girlfriend Material, I think similar to the Sprints album, a lot of the best songs on this released last year. I think Mary is probably that album's standout track. But in terms of the songs that came out this year with it, I think Second Prettiest Girl in the World is easily the best that's been released in 2024 for this album, which is a really good album as well. You should check it out. Number 4 then is Get Yourself a Gun by Bob Vylan off the album Humble as a Son. It's Bob Vylan, man. You know my thoughts on Bob Vylan by now. It's a really good track. Number 3 then is Burning Down the House by Paramore, a cover that I controversially believe is better than the original. I just think the song feels made for Hayley Williams. After hearing it, I believe that when I heard it first, and then I saw it live, and to me, it now in my mind is a Paramore song. And you know, sometimes a cover comes along and it eclipses the original. I don't think it eclipses the original, but for me it just feels a lot more suited to the performance that Hayley puts in. Like, that performance is just so built for this song. She feels like a performer built for this song, and I absolutely adore this song. Number 2 then is In Lieu of Flowers by Aaron West and the Roaring Twenties, the title track from my favourite album of the year. Jesus Christ, what a song this is. It's so good. It's got the full band, the horn section, the writing, the instrumentation, all of it just builds and crescendos, and it's a wonderful, wonderful song. And my favourite song of the year goes to my friends Bro Gale with Girl from NYC. This song will just be stuck in your head. It's impossible to get out. It's such a good song. It does everything right. It just proves what I've been saying for years. These guys are one of the best young bands in the world, and I'm very lucky to call them my friends as well. But this song, man, this song's so fucking good. It's like this. It's everything you love about the Pogues, and it's modernised, and it's brilliant, and it feels authentic. Even though, as I said, it's everything you love about the Pogues, it doesn't feel like it's trying to be anything but Bro Gale. That's the best way I can describe this song, and that is why it's my song of the year so far. Now I'm just going to shout out 5 wee songs here I've got down as the singles of the year. These are songs that aren't sort of linked to any big release, aren't on an album. I know one of these EPs is coming out, but songs that just sort of dropped as standalone pieces, not as part of a bigger, wider project. So we've got the final song by Issues, Since I Lost You, a great song. It just sort of shows exactly what Issues is, with Skylar on vocals as well. He's been doing some really interesting stuff with his solo career. It's funk, it's metal, it's groove, it's everything that Issues have always been, and it's a great way for this band to bow out. We've got Spine by West Ghost. That's a song I kept seeing on TikTok, and then I listened to it, and it's really good. It's I don't know, it feels like it should be in Skate 4. That's what all the TikToks I saw that was said. Spine by West Coast, a really interesting song that won't leave your head. Love Is Dumb by Raleigh Ritchie is a song from an upcoming EP of songs that he never released, that he's like sort of rediscovered, and he's just basically making sure that they don't live on a hard drive forever. It's a really good song by an artist that I've loved for a while and I've been getting back into recently, and I think this EP is going to be amazing. Almost Famous by my friends in Dictator, a really, really good band out of Scotland, a really interesting song about the sort of trappings of being an up-and-coming band and the way that people speak to you when you are an up-and-coming band. It's really fun, it's really tongue-in-cheek, and it's really catchy. And then, yeah, the fifth song here is You Should Not Be Doing That by Amyl and the Sniffers. If you've heard it, you know this is just sort of peak Amyl and the Sniffers, and just right in your face, Amy Taylor showing you that she is one of the best front people in rock music. It's a really, really good track worth checking out. And now we're just going to talk about my 5 least favourite songs of the year. Once again, we're just going to go through these. We're not going to spend time hating on them. These are songs, again, that I've listened to. These aren't songs that I've read through a list and I'm like, oh yeah, of course that's going to suck. These are songs that I listened to in some cases. And in one case, it's a song I couldn't necessarily miss, but I still hate it. And the rest, some of these I hate listening to. Some of these I went into being like, this might be interesting, this could be okay, and I hate them all. So yeah, worst song, Ronald by Fallen in Reverse. I fucking hate this song. Karma by Jojo Siwa, it's the one I couldn't escape. Lost Boys by MGK and Trippie Redd. This song sucks, man. This is not a good song. Houdini by Eminem. I went in for a hate listen and it was so much worse than I could have ever anticipated it being. No Offense's cover of I Miss Having Sex but At Least I Don't Want to Die by Waterparks. I already don't love that song. I don't know why I thought this would have been okay. Maybe because I quite liked his album this year. And 3 Day Headache is quite a fun and interesting song, and I thought maybe, Waterparks are a bit of a quirky, interesting boy band. No Offense is doing some quirky, interesting boy stuff. This sucks. And then Losing My Grip by Enter Shikari and Fever 333. I think it's the worst parts of each band. And they're two bands I love. I just don't like those songs. Before we go then, I'm going to talk about things I'm looking forward to, some things I'm unsure about, and as always when I do big videos here on Jake Talks Tunes, I'm then going to shout out some friends of mine who are making cool music and have released cool stuff. So before we go, albums I'm looking forward to: Romance by Fontaines DC, Big Ideas by Remy Wolf, Bando Stone in the New World by Childish Gambino, the new Twin Atlantic album, I think it's called Meltdown, the new Balance and Composure album, the name of which I can't remember, and the new Griff album, the name of which I can't remember. All 6 of those albums I have very, very high hopes for, and I'm almost certain none of them are going to let me down. Almost certain none of them are going to let me down. The only one that might let me down is Twin Atlantic. But the singles have been good, so the pressure's on, boys. And now we have some albums that I'm unsure about, but I want to be proven wrong on. Viva Hines by Hines. I love Hines, I just haven't been in love with the singles so far. The new Jamie XX album, maybe it's just the cynical part of my brain, but when I saw Jamie XX was releasing an album in 2024, my brain was like, that's a choice that he made. I don't have any real reason to think that it'll be bad, it's just, I don't know, Jamie XX still kicking a ball in 2024 took me aback a little bit, I guess. So I am cautiously optimistic for that. The same way I am with the new Blossoms record. I didn't love Gary, the song about the fucking, what is it? Is it the Carluke Garden Centre monkey? 1 second. Yeah, Gary the gorilla statue from a garden centre in Carluke. It's, that's what the Blossoms albums are named after and what the song's about. And I didn't love it. I think I like it Blossoms, so I'm hopeful, but I'm not overly hopeful. I think in a similar vein as well, Soft Play, Punk's Dead was one of my favourite songs of last year. Mirror Muscles, I like, it's fun. Act Violently, I wasn't huge about. I'm not also huge about Everything and Nothing. So I'm excited for that album, but cautiously optimistic. Sabrina Carpenter as well. Can she hold this momentum and carry this momentum into the album? The song and the video with Barry Keoghan, what's it called? I'm not gonna look it up. But I didn't love that. Espresso obviously is everywhere. It's a good song. It's a really good song. I just don't know if the Sabrina Carpenter momentum will carry. I don't know how sustainable it is being a fairly young and newer artist with this much writing on this album. So again, that's an album I'm kind of unsure about, but cautiously optimistic. And then this one, I guess I'm just not cautiously optimistic for. It's F1 Trillion by Post Malone. I don't really care for this whole bro country revival thing Because you just didn't fucking like Luke Combs 2 years ago. You just didn't. He had a song that got big on TikTok, and then you were like, oh, I have to go to the Hydro. Like, you just didn't care about Luke Combs 2 years ago. Hence why I'm quite apprehensive about this sort of big Zach Bryan, Luke Combs sort of country revival, with a lot of sort of smaller, more grassroots country artists who aren't like the big beers and trucks and trucker hats. A lot of those country artists are kind of being left by the wayside, and people are sort of switching genres to jump on this wave the way that people did a couple of years ago with pop punk. I just don't think this is a sustainable model. And I know that Post Malone is really into his country and always has been, but I'm worried he's gonna go down the fucking Carhartt jackets and like cold beer and like, yeah, I'm worried he's gonna go down that route instead of like writing a real earnest country record from the heart. And then obviously he's like fucking making music with Morgan Wallen and stuff, and like it's fuck Morgan Wallen until the day I die. So now that we've talked and yapped about my favourite and least favourite, and things I've liked and didn't like, and things that I'm excited for and things that I'm not excited for with music this year, now that we spoke about all of that, I'm going to take this time to shout out my friends at the end of this video, like I always do when I make these videos talking about my favourite things of the year in music. So let's just go right off the bat. I mentioned them earlier. Cherem, wonderful band, wonderful album, some wonderful, wonderful songs. Go check them out. My friends over in Vanderlei have been making some incredible music. This Plastic Ego and Terrible Comfort both came out this year. 2 of their 4 singles. They're a really, really fantastic band. A band that I highly recommend you get in on the ground floor, because these guys are the real fucking deal. You've got my friend Rowan, who just released his debut album. That's an absolutely wonderful record, and I can't talk more positively about that album if I tried. It's a really, really fantastic record about his life and just the everyday joys of life. And I think it's really sweet to hear. It's not him trying to like be big, high concept. He's like, this is my life. My life's pretty fucking sweet. Here's a bunch of songs about how my life's pretty fucking sweet. And it's great. I mentioned them earlier. My friends over at Dictator as well have been putting out some really good songs this year, and they're a band I'm very, very excited to see what they do next. And then some smaller artists that I really like as well. I guess one smaller artist that I really like, who I think is going to do some big things this year, is Telly Louise, a great young artist out of Liverpool with some really, really cool music coming out, and a song that released today that I've not listened to yet. So I'll listen to that as soon as I hit stop recording on this video. So that's it for me today. Please leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. Tell me that I'm an idiot, because you've been listening to Luke Combs for so many years, even though all of your friends haven't. Tell me that I'm an idiot for saying that no one liked him 2 years ago. Tell me that I'm an idiot for saying Aaron West is the best album of the year. Tell me that I'm an idiot for saying Vultures is the worst album of the year. Tell me that I'm an idiot for saying that Ronald by Fall in Reverse sucks. Do all of that. Give me engagement. But no, for real, let me know what you think of these picks. If you haven't listened to them, and then you go and listen to them now, let me know what you think of them then. If you have any recommendations of things I've left out, let me know. Shout at me for not listening to Adrian Lenker yet. Do all of that. And let me know what you guys think of the video. Please do like and subscribe, and stick around for more music content on this silly little channel. As always, my name's Jake. I like to talk tunes, and I'll see you next time.